What's up, guys? It's Ross from AthElite Strength and Conditioning, and we'll be discussing some of the exercises and training techniques you can use when you're training at home. One of my favorite types of exercise is isometric exercises, which in a nutshell is basically holding a movement. So whether it's a squat or push up, you could even do it if gyms open up again, if they decide to open up gyms again soon. You can do it with a barbell squat, deadlifts, bench press. You can do it with any exercise. And in a nutshell, the way it works is you're basically holding a movement, whether it's at the start of a rep, during reps, or at the end of a set. You're just holding that movement. So whether it's a squat, we're holding it about that 90-degree angle. If it's a bench press, we're holding it on basically the eccentric phase or the down phase. So there's been quite a fair bit of study going into isometric training, and the results are unbelievable. So it's had like various benefits for lots of different injuries and rehabilitation, as well as performance. So when we start looking at isometrics, we're mainly looking at body weight exercises. That's probably hence why we're talking about exercise and training at home, because there's only so many push-ups and squats you can do, but you can vary these everyday tasks or everyday exercises that you can do, body weights. You can vary it up through the use of isometrics. For example, doing a body weight squat, you can convert that to a wall sit. That's a good alternative, to get some activation in your quadriceps. With a push-up, you can hold it in between on the way up and on the way down. So you're holding it right on the border of the eccentric and concentric movement. And there's different variations in the time as well. So obviously, we want to increase that time under tension, hence why completing an isometric exercise makes you feeling the fatigue a lot more than whether you just pumping out reps. That's why you should always complete reps, especially for hypertrophy, which is when you're training to build muscle mass. You should always try to complete nice, slow and controlled reps. So each rep in a set should last 4, 5 to 6 seconds. So for example, if you're doing a back squat, it should be around 3 seconds down, 1 second pause, 1 second up. So you want to increase time under tension. With an isometric, if you want to do after the set, so the last rep, an example of that will be 8 squats. So 3 seconds down, 1 second pause, 1 second up. You do that 7 times. On the 8th rep, you might go 3 seconds down, and instead of a 1 second pause and hold, we might convert that to a 10-second pause and hold, and then 1 second up. So that's just a great example of one isometric exercise we can do. And depending on what type of program you're having, so whether you've got an injury management program, a performance program if you want to build up muscle, or if you want to develop your strength, that can really change the way you train with isometrics. So for example, if we want to manage injuries and we want a bit of rehab, there's a different time frame where you should hold those isometric exercises when compared to if you want to build muscle, if you want to build strength, or if you want to build on some power and develop some power, which is more your sports specific end of things. So for example, if we wanted to manage our injuries, we'd complete about 5 reps, 2 to 3 sets a day. And in terms of the time frame, we should hold up to 60 seconds. So a maximum of 60 seconds per hold in that isometric holds for the injury prevention side of things. If we're trying to build muscle, we want to hold 3 to 30 seconds. So that's primarily each rep, 3 to 30 seconds on that pause phase. So generally with hypertrophy, I like to get my athletes to do it right at the end or right at the start, generally right at the end of a set. So if we're doing squats, I'd get them to do, 3 sets of 10, at the end of the first set, on the 10th rep, instead of that 1 second pause, 1 second up, we might do a 15-second pause and then 1 second up, and that's on that very last rep of the set. And we get them to do that a few times, not for all exercises, but again, it's just another way to vary your training. And the beauty about it, no matter your goal, you can implement isometrics as part of your program. If your goal is different, so if your goal is to develop strength and maximal strength and sub-maximal strength, you want to get that isometric hold between 1 to 5 seconds. So it's, as you can see, the more we go down the line in sports specific, whether you play basketball, whether you play tennis, Australian football, soccer, we all want to develop power, whether it's ballistic, dynamic power, whether it's explosive power. We want to develop somewhat of power, if not strength. So as we get closer towards that performance side of things, we want to hold that isometric a little less. And more towards the rehab side, we want to hold it for a bit longer. So for strength, 1 to 5 seconds, that's how long we want to hold that each rep for in that pause phase. And what it actually does, so the whole thing of isometrics, the longer we can hold it, the more muscle fibers recruitment occurs in your muscles. So it is fantastic. I've been doing it myself and with some other clients, and there is some result, there is results, and every bit of results helps, obviously. So whether you're training for tennis and you've injured yourself, you've got some kind of injury, it's definitely worth it. I think it's definitely worth it, and the study suggests that it's definitely worth it. As we go towards power, we want to hold no more than 2 seconds. So 0 to 2 seconds, that's pretty much the sweet spot for all of those different goals. If they're your goals, you've got those sweet spots. And we'll post a link up on our social media pages. We'll create a table and show you guys what exactly it is, just in case you forget about things. So no stress there. So when we're talking about the total time on attention for each set for injury prevention or managing injuries, we're looking at about, it's quite a long time. We're looking at a roughly 5 to 10 minutes total time on attention. So that is quite a long time. And as we said, the more closer you get towards your power and your strength, the less time on attention you want, because we're looking at different goals rather than rehabilitation. Hypertrophy is very similar. So hypertrophy, we're looking at up to a couple minutes. So between 1.5 to 2 minutes is your sweet spot for total time on attention. And we're talking about time on attention once again. We're talking about how long that set should take. And, if you just did reps, for 2 minutes, you could probably pump out maybe 30 or 40 reps. But completing isometrics, we're still getting that 8 to 12 rep mark in hypertrophy, which is recommended. However, we're just holding. We might hold every rep. We might hold for 10 seconds. I have a bit of a pause. We might hold a 30-second after our first 7 reps. If we're doing 8 reps, after our first 7 reps, we might do a 30-second pause in the last rep. So there's lots of ways you can do it. Great for training at home as well, because you can use body weight exercises to do this. You can even use household items as weights. 5 kilo bag of flour, grocery bags, filling them up full of shopping, old footy bags with your footy boots. You might have a dumbbell. Get whatever you can, and just try to be as productive as possible with this. And when we're talking about strength, we're talking no more than a minute and a half, from 30 to a minute and a half, 30 seconds to a minute and a half, sorry. And power, we don't want anything more than about 45 seconds. So in between 5 to 45 seconds is where we're talking about for total time on attention when we're training isometrics. Some other great tips include completing the movement really slow and controlled. Also increases that time under tension, as we've previously discussed. Just allows more muscle fiber recruitment as we progress through reps and sets. So like we said, we can do as many reps as we can, but if we're not getting time under tension, depending what your goal is, you might not be getting the most beneficiary out of the exercise. A couple more tips for you guys. So just make sure during this lockdown period, if you guys are affected, nutrition's key. Obviously, nutrition and sleep are probably two of the main recovery aspects. So making sure we're still eating healthy, balanced diets. No discrimination to any vegans out there. So if you do have a vegan diet, that's okay. Just making sure that we're getting in a routine. That's the main thing. We're not just letting all our benefits and all our adaptations from pre-lockdown slide out the window. We're just making sure that we can still bounce from there and still achieve our goals if we're heading in the right direction, or we can start achieving our goals if we haven't quite got there yet. So whether it's for any other athletes who their season's been cancelled, there's always next season. So we want to start, working now. It is a great opportunity to get better, believe it or not. It could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise how some of our craft work and strength and conditioning components, you could actually improve a lot of them right now just by training at home, being consistent, eating right. Getting regular routines is the key. So going to bed similar time, waking up similar time every day. And lastly, if we can, and I know most of us work commitments will change dramatically, try to exercise in the morning if you guys can. Generally, most of my clients and most of the people I've worked with in the past have the most energy in the morning, especially males. Males, your testosterone levels are higher in the morning. And if you're lifting weights, anyone that has a home gym and been affected by the lockdown, if you're lifting weights, probably you can use that higher level of testosterone to your advantage if you train in the morning as well, as a little bit of a trick there. Nothing worse, after a hard day's work, any tradies out there, come back and then you've got to exercise and you're mentally fatigued, you're physically fatigued, testosterone levels have dropped and your estrogen levels have increased, and it's just a lot easier if you can. Some people start work 4 or 5 a.m. and it's quite hard to train before that, but if you can, try to train in the morning as well as a way to help you guys out in achieving your goals. Thanks for listening to the AthElite podcast, and be sure to subscribe, follow. We've got a couple social media accounts at AthElite SC, so AthElitesc. So feel free to give us a follow. We're posting heaps of valuable content. We'll be posting notifications about the AthElite podcast weekly. You'll get all those notifications by subscribing, following to our social media pages, and much, much more. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening, guys, and there'll be plenty more to come in the coming weeks.